You are not here to give your attention to others. But we have learned that it is polite. It's the polite way to be there. It is the polite way not to interrupt. It is the polite way to sit quietly and receive. And at the same time, what we are giving is attention. And attention is your biggest currency. It's your power. It's like there's not much more you can give than your attention. And we're very unaware, I would say, especially as women, because we were told just be there, sit nicely, listen, learn, etc., etc. But you need to understand that you're not here to give your attention freely without receiving anything in return. You're here to learn about yourself, you're here to get to know yourself, you're here to understand, you're here to value yourself. You are here to learn all these things and how to value yourself, how to know your worth, how to grow stronger. And especially when we're not aware of it, is in the form of energy, is where we drain ourselves most, right? Because every interaction, every conversation, everything is an exchange of energy. And it has to be equilibrated if you want to feel good, if you want to feel neutral, if you want to feel equilibrated. It has to be compensated. And it's hard to admit this to yourself, because maybe now you're thinking, wow, but who would be left in my life if I wasn't giving more? Or maybe you're receiving more, but then probably you wouldn't be here. But if you're giving more, then you often feel overwhelmed, you often feel drained, and that results in chronic pain. That's why we're here talking about chronic pain. And so it's very important, because when I was at my worst of chronic pain, of my daily chronic pain, I used to feel so drained, so much without energy. I was tired all the time. And I thought that's a normal way. Like, okay, I worked every day, endless hours. But even when I had my days off, I was just drained, I was just tired, and I felt like I'm not doing so much physically for me to be that tired. But only until I started getting into energy and understanding how much we do these exchanges, until I had to manifest myself this super peaceful, aligned, completely connected with nature, the way that toads come into our room where we sleep, and in the middle of the bush in South Africa. Until I experienced this, only then I started recharging from this excessive giving. And if we live the busy lifestyle in the city and just go on with it and go non-stop, then actually we can't be surprised if we're experiencing chronic pain. Like, we really can't. It doesn't necessarily have to be only with the city, it can be everywhere. But it's about the beliefs that you have, it's about how you're coping with life. And especially as women, we have been taught to cope in the way of giving, in the way of nurturing, giving, and I don't think receiving has been taught enough, because that just wasn't a concept. For a woman to receive and to nurture herself, to get to know herself, that era is now. That era's living, and things are changing because we are awakening and we're realizing, wow, I don't have to be so drained. I don't have to be constantly tired. I can have space for myself, whatever the circumstance. And this is what you have to become aware of if you want to have a pain-free life, if you are ready to take responsibility for your life and create the pain-free state within your life, and really not to cope on a daily basis from exhaustion and from pain and from desperation and from just like finishing and then being somehow feeling worthy or being somehow rewarded, which is usually an illusion because it not often manifests into the results. It not often manifests into the state of your bank account or the state of your health. It will most likely manifest into disease or into lack or into just exhaustion. And so understanding when you're giving and that you're giving even when you don't think you're giving is very important. So for example, in a conversation where you're there, you're giving the attention, you're acknowledging, while the other person is blurting out all of their stuff that they don't understand. And if you have a certain level of awareness, then you can see it clearly, but it is not your task. First of all is stop reacting, and it's not your task to fix anyone else. This is the first layer, but I think we're past that. I think we're past reacting. I think we understand that just being there is enough, but then we need to understand what does it mean being there and how valuable you being there is. If you don't value that you being there and listening and receiving the stuff that maybe isn't of no interest to you, gives you nothing, and in return you don't feel heard, you don't feel like the exchange is going the other way, you feel like it's one way. Even if the person feels like they need to save you, it's it's energy invested in the wrong way, because everyone can only save themselves and heal themselves, and that person should be investing their energy towards themselves and not towards you. But it is all about learning this, and it is all about becoming aware that every single conversation you lead, every your every being somewhere with other people or in some situation is your responsibility, and it is important. And it so often it seems like, yeah, well, I can't do anything about the people surrounding me, I can't do anything about like having to go to these events or parties or visiting those people because it's the right thing to do, right? It's polite, blah blah blah. And we tell ourselves we have to. We tell ourselves this is just how you have to cope. And there's a significantly big difference of you choosing to give your attention, to be there for someone, to help someone out, to just guide them, to just be them with them, and it's so valuable. But if there's nothing coming in return for that, it's not sustainable. Long term, it's gonna drain you, and especially that if that person isn't aligned with you, the thoughts that are gonna be coming up are gonna be negative, and you're gonna be talking badly about them. You're gonna be thinking about them. It's gonna be irritating for you because that conversation isn't aligned. You're not aligned with those people. You're not meant to be surrounding yourself with them. But you can, and you can for the eternity of your life. You can. But then, unfortunately, we can't be surprised that it results in pain and it results in overwhelmed situations or being exhausted. Yes, we can recuperate this energy, we can learn how to recharge ourselves. But again, in the long term, the more you're getting to know yourself, the more sensitive you're becoming because you're reconnecting with yourself, right? You're connecting to your senses, if you're connecting with your pain, if you're tuning in with your pain, you're becoming more sensitive. That's what you actually want. You might feel like, wow, now I don't resonate with these people anymore. Now I don't fit in with these people anymore. Unfortunately, that's what you wanted. If you want to heal your life, if you want to be pain free, you're gonna have to start aligning with those that are healthy, that are pain free, that are living what you want. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, those people that were never aligned with you, that were just temporarily in your life for some reason, as a guidance through that understanding, through that period, you're not gonna align with them anymore. You're not gonna vibe with them. You're gonna feel maybe sick and you're gonna feel more pain when you're with them because you have changed. You're doing the work in the background, the work that no one can see, the energetical true work that is where the truth is sourced in. And if you heal yourself, you're no longer sick. And this is so important to understand, that if you've been vibing with people that aren't healing themselves, that are choosing to be sick, even if they're not aware of it, if they're choosing to be in a lack of some kind, if they're choosing to be unhealthy in any way or in pain, and you are doing this work to become someone who's healthy, someone who's pain-free, someone who's abundant, then you're not going to be vibing with them anymore. It's very logical. It makes a lot of sense. But for the ego of the knowing, the comfort zone that likes knowing where it's at and doesn't want the unknown uncertainty of new people, of where am I gonna find these people? Oh my god, I'm gonna be alone forever. I'm never gonna vibe with anyone ever again. It's not true, right? But unfortunately, you need to close those doors. You need to become aware, right? Thank you for being here, for me, that we could exchange this period. But if you look really honestly, if you're not vibing with them after you're healing, after you're reconnecting with yourself, you never really vibe with them in the first place. It was you vibing with them only because some part of you was still dormant. Some part of you was still unaware of who you can become, who you are, who you were always meant to be. And you were always different and you were always not vibing with them. But you settled for it because that's what we sometimes need. We need some guidance, we need some support, we need some surrounding. And there will be a next one, and there will be a next surrounding for the next chapter of your healing, because that's luckily why it goes in chapters, and the life has its chapters, and it's unfolding itself as you go, and you're learning as you go. But it helps, sorry, it helps really much to become aware of where you're giving your attention and how powerful this is and how much energy this takes from us, because especially if we become more sensitive, we need to get better care of our energy, because we no longer can commit to things that aren't aligned. That just wouldn't work. You can't be both aligned and settling for what's not aligned with you. You can't be both. You can't be both unhealthy and healthy. Okay, there are polarities, but you can't be unhealthy and happy at the same time, right? You can't be pain free and with pain at the same time. You're always choosing the polarity that you want to experience. If you're manifesting your energy into pain, that's where you're at, and that's what you're surrounding yourself with more pain. if you're manifesting and you're changing and you see you've improved and you see you have had more awareness of, wow, those pain-free states, and I'm aware, wow, I'm enjoying my pain-free moments, my pain-free life, then you're gonna have to start vibing with the pain-free reality that surrounds you, with those that are already there, or with those that are getting there with you, with those that are going on the same path. Because those that aren't there yet, it's not your responsibility to give them your attention. You cannot help them with giving them more of your attention, because it wouldn't land, it wouldn't resonate. It never has and it never will. It has to come and go. It has to be equilibrated. It has to be giving and receiving within every energetical exchange. And it's up to you what you're ready to receive. If you've been coping in giving more, receiving nothing, that's what you've surrounded yourself. If you're working on equilibrating this, understanding, well, where can I receive more and give equally, then this is what you're surrounding yourself. And that's why those things won't work anymore. That's why those things will crumble away. That's why those things won't feel right anymore. And this is actually a sign of progress. This is actually a sign of you're doing it right. But even though we're getting what we want, it can be crazy, it can be intimidating, terrifying, because it's the unknown. It's the new and the unknown of what we haven't experienced before. So this is a reminder to enjoy it, to stay in it, and to reach the pain-free state that you are able to reach at the moment right now, and understand how valuable your attention is, and that you're not here to give your attention to anyone.